It's hello from him.
Richard Moore. And it's hello from her.
It's Michelle Monroe again. Well, as I said last month, we had our first very special guest, which was the very talented and wonderful Bobby Crush. And here he is again.
Hello, Michelle.
Lovely that you came back.
Well, absolutely. It's a delight to be back in your company, and Richard as well. And let's talk about the things that we never got to talk about first time round.
Wonderful.
I think I'm right in saying that Matt would have loved to have been an actor. You've acted in a few things on the telly. You were in Benidorm, I know. And would you have liked to have been more of an actor? Would you have liked to have done more?
Yes. I mean, I love doing Benidorm. That was great fun. But do you know what? More than being an actor, I would love to have been a really good singer. And I tell you for why. As an instrumentalist, I'm always aware that I'm only ever playing half the song.
Right.
And
yeah.
a huge admirer, like the Ira Gershwins and the Stephen Sondheims. And so when I learn a new song, I also learn the lyric. I mean, audience members have noticed before now that when I'm at the piano, they see me mouthing words, and it's because I'm singing along whilst I'm playing, because I'm only playing half the song. So by mouthing of the words, I feel as though I'm paying tribute to the lyrics as well. But I'd love to have been a singer like your dad, and with a big range. I'd love to have been a belter.
Yeah. But I think every entertainer wants to be something. I mean, Daddy wanted to be an actor, and he did a film with George Montgomery and Tippi Hedren, which nobody's ever seen, called Satan's Harvest. But he loved it. And George asked him to do the following one, which was going to be in the Philippines. But sadly, there was a big earthquake there, and they had to cancel the shoot, and it never happened again. But he loved it, And I think most people in the business want to have another feather to their bow.
Yes, I think if you're an entertainer, you're always looking towards developing new skills.
Yeah. Well, the courtroom drama Liberace's Suit at the German Street Theatre received rave reviews, of course, as did Liberace Live from Heaven, which was written especially for you by playwright Julian Woolford. Now, were you nervous about taking on a straight theatrical role?
Oh, straight? Liberace? Hello?
You know what I mean, darling. But it was a drama, though, wasn't it?
It was a drama. Liberace's Suit, the play that you mentioned at the German Street, was a dramatisation of the court case that Liberace took against the Daily Mirror back in the 50s, when one of their correspondents, a guy called Cassandra, wrote an article which didn't actually come out and say that Liberace was gay, but he hinted at it very heavily, and Liberace took offence and thought that it had the potential to damage his career. So he took the Daily Mirror to court and won his case, because he swore on the Bible that he wasn't gay, and really, he lied. He lied in court and won like £70,000 worth of damages, which at that
was a lot of money.
In the 50s was a lot of money. So the play that I did was all about his deception and how the Daily Mirror fought against it, and how after Liberace's death, they attempted to get the money back from his estate. I don't know whether they eventually managed it, but there was an attempt to...
Had you met him?
No, I almost did. My publicist at the time was a guy called Clifford Elson.
Oh, yeah, I know Clifford.
Yeah, and he got in touch with Liberace's publicist because Liberace was coming over to do some concerts, and Clifford attempted to get us together for a photo shoot, the old stager meeting the new boy, and Liberace management was in favour. They were up for it, and I was certainly up for it. I would have been thrilled to have met him, but unfortunately, as Liberace flew into London for his concerts, I flew out to Australia to do my first work over there. So we might have met in midair, but we never actually met in person.
That's
But
like Daddy and Sinatra. They were supposed to meet so many times, and life conspired against them, to be honest. But as I said, it received rave reviews. But how do you handle criticism?
oh, pretty well, pretty
Yeah,
well. Um, you're not going to please everybody all the time, And I, in the early days, um, I think I was an easy target. I was an easy target because I was this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young thing with the long hair and the lace jabot and the Regency suits, bobbing up and down at the piano and what have you. And there would be people in the press saying, "Oh, it's all a bit twee, isn't it? And do we really need this? And is Bobby Crush really the new Russ Conway and all that?" So I came to understand that positive press is lovely, but there's always going to be negative stuff, and you just roll with the punches, don't you? Really. So I think I take criticism quite well, and if it's constructive criticism, I
yeah,
will certainly take it on board.
yeah.
I've learnt from some of the reviews that I've had that I might be doing things that were not necessarily the right thing, so I adapt accordingly and be grateful for the advice.
Well, I mean, show business is full of risks. So, what's the biggest risk you've ever taken, and did it pay off?
The biggest risk I've ever taken is in 1986. I was invited to play Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show, and my manager at the time, a lady called Dorothy Solomon, advised me very strongly against it. She said, it's going to play totally against your image. You're going to upset a lot of people. You're going to go on stage dressed as Frankenfurter, who is a transvestite in a mask and fishnet stockings and high heels, and say dialogue, some of which is going to be very near the knuckle, and some of which is going to be right on the knuckle. And she thought that it might be a very risky thing for me to do. But I kicked against it. A few years earlier, I might have said, "Oh, okay, then, Dorothy, no." But by then, I'd got a bit more confident in myself. And I thought, if you're going to do something different, do something wildly different. And when it all started up, people were seeing the billing, Bobby Crush as Frankenfurter, and thinking that there'd been some kind of misprint. Somebody, every day, everyone's having a laugh. This is never going to happen. But I did it, and the reviews were fantastic. And it's one of the things that I'm really grateful for. Do you know what? It's 40 years since I did it, and I still get emails from Rocky Horror fans saying, "Oh, please, can you share some of your stories from Rocky Horror?" And it's gone down in history as
Well, you'll have to send me a photo of you dressed.
Oh, darling, it's on the website.
Oh, I shall have a look.
Oh, and the legs are to die for.
I bet.
I'm get me into that bus now.
Now, look, Dad had a thing about people not whistling in the dressing room. Do you have any show business superstitions?
Well, I wouldn't say the name of the Scottish play. And I'm not terribly thrilled at anybody whistling in a dressing room, so I'm with your dad on that one. One showbiz superstition that I was not aware of is when I was doing summer season one time and I was doing an audience request spot, somebody called out Danny Boy, and I played it. And when I came off stage, the stage manager was very antsy about it, saying, "Oh my goodness, you took your life in your hands there, didn't you?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And they said, "Oh, it's terribly unlucky to play Danny Boy." I said, "Well, I've never heard that." I said, "And careers were made on that song. Andy Williams does it in his act. Des O'Connor used to close his act with it. Joseph Locke, Dana, all these people." I said, and no terrible things has befallen them. And they said, "Oh no, it dates back to the days of music hall when some poor woman was on stage singing Danny Boy, and a stage weight from above hit her on the head and killed her." And I was told that Danny Boy was very,
So
very.
there was no full stabs then that night.
If anybody asks me to play it, I will always play it, and nothing seems to have happened to me so far. And here I am at 71, still in good health and playing all these songs.
Yeah. Do you have a sort of set routine when you're in your dressing room before
Oh,
a show?
always. When I played Panto with Lenny Henry years ago, and we had to share a dressing room because the theatre had very limited space backstage, it drove me mad because in my dressing room, there's everything is in its place, and there's a place for everything, and I'm very ordered, and I have all my makeup laid out, and I have a towel over the back of the chair, and I have all my photographs, and I have all my little bits and pieces and what have you. And Lenny, it was like
A whirlwind.
it was. I mean, I don't know whether he's changed his ways now. But when he was younger, the untidiest person and it drove me mad. And we had to draw an invisible line down the centre of the room, and people would come in and see my neat little half and see Lenny's awful half, and be quite taken aback by it all. So yes, I do. I like order, not just in the dressing room, but in my life in general.
Your dad was like that, but he had standing up trousers. Those are the ones he wore on stage, and he would never ever sit down in them because of the creases.
Do you know what? I'm the same. Once they're on, I won't sit down.
That's exactly right.
They're going to get pretty creased once I'm on stage because as a pianist, I'm sitting down most of the time.
Absolutely. But it doesn't matter. You've got to go on looking absolutely resplendent.
When they first see you, you've got to have that crisp line down the front of your trousers, even though it's not going to last very long.
Well, look, I was fortunate to have met you on a P&O cruise quite a few years ago, of course, when we were both working on it. Now, I remember vividly that the cruise line refused to let you do the finale as it stood, as they felt it would depress the audience. Have you ever had any other ludicrous contractual restrictions?
Yes, I mean, what you're referring to is for quite a while when I did cruise engagements, I used to play Elton John's
That's right.
Candle in the Wind.
I didn't want to say it in case you still do it.
No, I don't. I don't do it now. But it was not that long after Diana's passing, and I had this compilation of pictures of,
Yeah.
and the audience loved it, and it always got a huge applause. And then some oik from P&O at a later stage decided that they didn't like it, and because they were in a position of power, stopped me from doing it.
Oh, I remember it very well.
And I was really cheesed off about it. I nearly said a rude word there, but I stopped myself. And yes, so I think that's the only time that I've ever encountered a situation like that. But at the time, it really annoyed me because
it's ridiculous.
I knew that it was something that the audience really liked. Because of course, Diana then, and she is still now,
yeah,
appeared. And people.
It was a beautiful finale as well. I mean, I've never seen such nonsense.
No. And maybe this is one of the reasons that I don't do cruise work anymore. I stopped that about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And also, I'd also done a lot by then. My first ship was the QE2 in 1982. So by the time I stopped doing the ships, I'd done 40 years of that kind of work. And it's like anything really, you do too much of it and it becomes a chore.
Yeah.
And also there's various problems that you encounter along the way, not just things like the Diana film, but travel arrangements not being everything that they should have been, um, missed connections, them not giving you enough time to get your second flight, putting you up in dodgy hotels overnight to await the ship the next day. Um,
Well,
people,
Les Dennis flew into Cairns and the flight had been delayed and they made him go on that night. Now, my brother was on the same ship working and he said, let me go on tonight and Les can go on tomorrow instead of me. And they wouldn't allow it. Of course, he died on his bottom. And, it's not fair, is it? Because then the reviews
well,
go
he was
back.
knackered, the poor love,
Finished.
and they've done that to me before. Now is that they'll fly you out on a long haul flight and transfer you to the ship, and then suddenly you're told, oh, you're on tonight,
That's right.
without allowing you any time to prep. And of course, all your clothes have got all screwed up in the bag, so you've got to get them pressed. You've got to have a rehearsal, and you've got to, freshen up and make sure that you're at your best for the audience. And yet, there will have been entertainers on the ship that have been kicking around for days and they still haven't been used.
I know.
And schedule them after you. It's just madness. I think some of the scheduling on these liners, it's like when I played one of the American ships and they were an all-American audience and they put 2 shows on that night. They put me on, who the Americans don't know, and they put me up against Debbie Reynolds. Debbie Reynolds from Singing in the Rain, American Hollywood royalty. So who are they going to go and see? An American audience. They're all going to go and see her. I played to 3 nuns and a scabby dog. And it's so unfair. And you have situations like that arise and you think, oh God, why bother? Why am I doing this? I don't have to now. I made me little pile. So what I do now is I do the occasional concert and hopefully things that I can commute to so that I can get to sleep in my own bed that same night. And I go off on a lot of holidays.
Yes.
Which I never used to do in the past, because your dad probably did the same, in that you don't want to take a holiday or go away for any
Lose work.
time, because what work are you going to miss out on? So you just keep on going and keep on going, think, oh, well, I'll have a holiday another time. Well, now I've had the opportunity to do that. This year, I've already been to New York for a week. I've been to Sitges in Spain for a week. On Tuesday, I fly out to Utah.
I know.
And at the end of that, I'm going to have a week in Las Vegas. I've booked a week in Gran Canaria in October. And I'm just having a lovely time now.
I think you've earned the right, darling.
Well, I figure I've done my bit. And I say to my agent, never say never. Although I've told her that I'm done with pantos, of course, if they came to my agent and said, we're going to put a panto into the London Palladium, do you think Bobby would like to play Dame? Well, Bobby would wrench their arm off.
Absolutely. But you can be home every night, can't you?
Exactly. But do I want to schlep up to, God knows where, and live out of a suitcase for, 5-6 weeks, including the rehearsal time and everything? And as I say, I'm 71 now, and I'm just taking things a little bit steadier and just doing the things that I like the sound of, only the stuff that I fancy.
Good.
Like today. Would you do my podcast? Yes, I'd love to do your podcast because I sit on my bum in my lovely sofa and talk with friends.
Thank you.
That's lovely. Yes. So yes, I've become what's the word I'm looking for?
Complacent.
No, not complacent. I've become choosy.
Picky, yeah. But you've earned that right, darling. When you've been in the business as many years and grafted and done trodden the boards.
Yes.
Yeah, you've earned that right.
Well, I've had 53 years in the business. I came into it at 18. As I say, I'm 71 now. So that doesn't take a lot of working out, does it? I'm
No.
be upfront about my age. Always amuses me. People in show business that want to lob off 20 years. You know, people they're not dumb. They know you've been around a long time. So how can you still be 35, for goodness sake?
No. No,
So
well, I'm only
I
50.
learned that from Lionel Blair,
Oh, bless him. Yeah.
whose age was a very closely guarded secret. Right up.
Okay, now Dad regretted coming back to England after signing for Capitol Records in the States because after a year he got homesick and instead of coming home for a holiday, he uprooted us all and came home. And in later years, he admitted that career-wise, it was probably one of the worst moves he ever did. Do you have a decision that you've regretted?
No, I regret decisions that were made on my behalf. In that I think I could have been international because as an instrumentalist, there's no language barrier, and I could have been sent into a lot of places that I didn't get to play. I mean, I was lucky enough over the years to do Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and in later life, the United States. But I think it would have been great if we could have had a bash at getting a market for Bobby Crush in the States. Because Liberace, maybe they were ready for a new piano star because Liberace at that point was kind of winding down a bit. So I think that there certainly over the years were missed opportunities, and I think that had my early management been a little bit more on the ball, I would have been maybe a bigger name than I've got a recognisable name. People know my name. People know Bobby Crush. They know the albums and what have you. But I was always ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Talking of working in the States, I know Michelle and I enjoyed very much because I know she was talking to you whilst they re-showed it not so long ago, Last Laugh in Vegas. Was that an enjoyable experience?
It was and it wasn't. But I will say that I think it could have been better than it was because so much wonderful stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. The editing was a bit harsh. And, we had some magic moments that, unfortunately, the public never saw. I mean, there was one segment, for instance, which always puzzled me. We went to Las Vegas's top gay nightclub at one point, and they filmed a drag performer arriving at the mansion where we were all staying. In a limousine to pick up Sue Pollard and myself to go to the gay club. So we're being chased around the house by the drag artist. So prepping, for the evening was hysterical. And then you see us getting into the limo, and of course off we went. So it was a magic night because, I mean, if you can imagine Sue Pollard teaching all the local gays how to dance around a handbag. It was the night of Hugh Hefner's death, so all the bar staff and all the go-go boys wore bunny ears in tribute to Hugh Hefner. And I was encouraged to stuff dollar bills down the jock straps of various members of staff, and it was really funny. So when the show goes out, you see us getting into the limo and off we go, and you never see us at the club. So we go to the club, but you don't see what actually happened at the club. And I just thought that it was a golden opportunity missed. So very peculiar. And there were various other editing issues that I thought were quite odd. And the thing is that it was a 5-part series. They could have got another 2 shows out of it with all the stuff that didn't get used. But we were told at the time that after the show went out, there was going to be a DVD, and that all the stuff that the public hadn't seen were going to be put on the DVD as bonus extras. And of course, the DVD never happened, so we never got to see any of this stuff. So I loved doing it, and I was thrilled to play Las Vegas, and it was brilliant, but it could have been better.
Yeah, and did you feel, because I know the way these things are edited, do you feel it was fair to you in the way you were perceived in the way they edited it?
No, not always. Not always. I mean, I think that there were scenes set up to get me a bit rattled. And of course, I rose to the bait and I did get rattled. One instance is that we all gathered together one morning with our rehearsal schedule for the week. And I was going to do two spots in the show. One was as myself, and the other one was going to be as Liberace. And when we had the rehearsal schedules handed out, there was no mention of me doing Liberace. And at that point, we'd gone for wig fittings, costume fittings. I'd worked with the MD on what we were going to be playing. We'd done a lot of work, and all of a sudden, it looked as though the whole idea had been trashed. And of course, I got very uptight about it, and they're filming me as I'm getting very uptight about it. And when the filming was over, one of the production assistants came over and said, "Oh, was the Liberace thing left off the schedule?" "Well, no. Oh, there must have been an oversight." "Well, of course you're still doing it. Yes, of course it's still going to happen." And nobody can tell me that that wasn't done deliberately. I think that information was left off the schedule to get me to react, and I did, and they got exactly what they wanted out of me there.
Yes,
and then of course, when that show went out, there's various things online. People saying, "Oh, Bobby Crush seems to be a bit grouchy,"
yeah.
and and it's all in the editing. They can make you out to look, not the nice
television.
guy. Oh, it is. And of course, the other thing is that when you sign a contract for something like that, of course, in the small print, it says that they are at liberty to do whatever they wish with the material. And, you have no say in it. No. So you kind of sign your life away.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I'd ever done a reality show. Cannon and Ball, who were also on the Vegas show with us, had by then done I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And so they had experience of reality shows, and I think that they could see things coming that the rest of us maybe didn't, because they knew the way these things worked. I was just used to doing regular TV shows where they say, "There's your piano, play away, we'll or say your piece or whatever," and this was something else entirely. But I think the boys kind of twigged that there were going to be certain things along the way that were set up, and they avoided that trap. But of course, I fell right into it, didn't I?
But the actual final performance, was that a representative Las Vegas audience, or was it somewhat weighted with British visitors or anything like that? I just felt that Cannon and Ball's humour, I think it would have travelled all that well,
Well, a lot of the invited audience were expat Brits.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. Yes, there were a lot of genuine Vegas visitors. There was a lot of Americans in the audience, but there were a lot of British as well, which was helpful because they knew us from home, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yes,
Well,
yes, quite.
Dad was a perfectionist in his art, and as he said many times throughout his career, no one ever blames the musicians or sound engineers for a cock-up. You're the one standing centre stage, and he didn't suffer fools. What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. when people don't deliver what they promise, contractually, when people come into work that you've taken on and they're unprepared, where you've done the spade work and you've ensured that you've come into something uh, fully prepped, and yet the people around you perhaps haven't been quite as on the ball as you have. So that I find peevish. But I mean, in terms of my demeanor, I'm pretty I'm pretty
Laid
flat.
back.
You know, I'm pretty out there in terms of, just going with the flow, and but there are occasions where I will get a bit antsy, and of course when I go, it's always the quiet ones. When they do eventually go over that line, it's quite something to see and hear,
Oh
because I
yes.
know all the words, you know,
Do you? Well,
and I
Daddy,
have been known to use them as well.
never. Well, Daddy travelled 9 months of every year, and like Dad, you're very well travelled, and he loved to experience local cuisines. What's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten?
Oh,
Keep it clean.
oh, I don't know. I mean, I've never done anything like camel's ghoulies in aspic, or anything like that. I've always been pretty open to trying new things. I can't think that I've ever eaten anything that was really outrageous. I mean, I'll always have a bash at things like, squid ink risotto, or something unusual on a menu that I think might be an adventure. But I've never done sort of the sort of stuff that you find they are offered on I'm a
Oh
Celebrity,
no, no, no. He wouldn't
Oh
have
no,
done
no,
that.
no, 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 no! I
No,
draw the
no,
line at that.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
But I
talking about,
love, but of
sorry.
course, when I toured in the early days, very often the only place that you could get a meal after a show would be a Chinese or an Indian.
Indian, yeah.
So I got to have a great appreciation of their cuisines.
That's good.
But yeah, I eat most things. The only thing I'm really funny about is really strong cheese, like blue cheese, or anything that oozes like
Right.
brie. Woo!
Oh, I love that.
Horrible. Oh
Well,
no!
talking about
When
food, if you
yeah,
could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Dusty Springfield, because she's always been a great heroine of mine. I never met her. We were on the same record label, and we used to leave messages for each other at Philips Records. And I have on top of my piano a photograph that she left me there one time, which says to Bobby, "I hear you are truly wondrous. Love and kisses, Dusty." And there was another big poster that she signed for me as well and left at the office of Philips Records that says to Bobby, "Keep those marvelous fingers flashing." And
Oh,
they're all up in my office. All those pictures are up in my office. And I was a huge fan, and I never got to meet her. And I would love to have just. And it's funny because I got to know over the years some of the people that worked with her, especially Simon Bell, who was one of her backing singers. And Simon always says to me whenever we meet up, he says, "Oh, it's such a shame," he said, "that the two of you never met." He said, "Because you'd have loved her," he said, "and she'd have loved you."
ah.
And so it was a great regret that we never actually met. But were I given the chance to have dinner with anybody, as you say, living or dead, it would be her.
Well, now you're talking about like the collection of photographs and things, and Dad used to collect all manner of strange things from his trips abroad. What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever bought?
Um, Two papier-mâché dolls, big girls, like Beryl Cook figures, that until quite recently also sat on top of my piano. but I did Celebrity Cash in the Attic not that long ago, and I donated them to the sale. So
Oh,
somebody else has got those now, but they were quite bizarre. These
excellent.
big figures, yeah. What did your dad end up with then that always
A didgeridoo.
mystified you? A what?
A didgeridoo.
A didgeridoo? He
Which
brought a didgeridoo back?
on the plane with him back from Australia.
No.
Never
Well, he
played
must-
it. He never got a
Well,
note out of it.
Oh my word! So did he go in the hold?
Yeah, well, I don't know. He took it on the plane.
No.
Yeah, and I've got it here.
Well, it must have been a private jet then, because they would
No,
never
but
allow
he
you.
was first class, though.
Oh, well, of course.
Sorry, darling. Yes, but he didn't pay. You know, the venues paid.
Oh,
That's
but
part
how
of his
wonderful!
contract. In later years, when he was established, that was part of his contract. First class travel and accommodation.
Quite right too. Quite right too. Well, in the latter days of my cruising, I always had in the contract business class flights, balcony cabin.
Yeah.
And then when they started tightening up on their budgets and saying, "Oh, we're not sure that we can do that any longer," that was kind of like my cue to wind
leave.
down and
Yeah.
say, "Well, then if I can't continue working in a way that I've become used to, I'd rather not bother at all."
Okay.
So there's one part of your career we've not really touched on, which is your songwriting. And I know you've written a musical. But what most people probably don't know is that you co-wrote Orville's song with Keith
No,
Harris.
I didn't.
Oh, you
no,
didn't?
I did not. I did not co-write it. I wrote the whole thing.
Oh, you wrote the whole thing, right?
I did. I wrote both the music and the lyrics. There is a train of thought that Keith Harris had involvement in writing Orville's song, but he didn't. I wrote the whole thing. True enough, I built the lyric around his act, the fact that Orville couldn't fly and he didn't have a mummy and daddy and all of that. But those words were mine and mine alone.
Well, I stand corrected.
And funnily enough, I've just found out that on Spotify, they credit the writing credit. It says Keith Harris. So I'm in the throes at the moment of getting that changed,
and rightly so.
and making sure that people are aware that although Keith had the hit record, I actually wrote the thing.
Quite right.
And you wrote comic songs for Russ Abbott and Les Dennis and Michelle's old friend Dustin.
I used to write parodies for Russ Abbott and Bella Emberg for their TV series, The Madhouse. So yeah, I get a buzz out of songwriting. It's something I've done as a sideline for many, many years. I write for myself. I sometimes put in my act now a song called "Let the Music Take Me," which is sort of biographical and talks about my. Oh, hello.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, they're coming to take me away. Ha ha. And I've also written a song about divas and called "They Don't Make Them Like That Anymore," where I list all the people that I grew up listening to, like, Ethel Merman and Shirley Bassey, and it's a thing about female performers. So your dad isn't in there, but were I to do one in the future that saluted male performers, Matt would be right at the top of the list. But yeah, so I write, and but my big writing project at the moment is an autobiography.
I know. Well, I'm just going
writing
to
a book.
Because it took me 4 years to research, write and publish Dad's biography, The Singer, The Life and Music of Matt Monro, which was a true labour of love. Now, I know you've been writing your own autobiography since before lockdown with the working title, Not the Boy Next Door. Any idea when fans can expect to see it?
Well, I write on a regular basis. My trouble is I get distracted. Do you get distracted when you were writing your dad's as well?
No, not with that one, but I did with my second book, yeah.
Right. Well, with the phone ringing and people turning up at the door and life in general. But I'm a good way through it now. A good way through it.
Well, you've made
And
chapter 2, have you?
I would like to hope that maybe by the end of the year, I am in a position to offer up a publisher a finished manuscript. But it has been a labour of love, and it has been a work in progress. And yes, I started it in earnest during lockdown.
I know.
Because I figured, well, I'm not going to be doing concerts, and I'm not going to be going anywhere. So the one thing that has been a real help to me in writing this book is that I've never thrown a diary away in 50 years. So I can go back on my diaries and I can pinpoint venues and dates and shows that went well and shows that didn't go well. And it will allow me to give an honest account of all those years.
Well, with more than 50 years in the business, you seem to have lived out every dream. So what's left on your bucket list? Apart from Strictly.
No, Strictly is not on my bucket list. But I tell you what is on my bucket list. I want to continue doing TV, and I want to be on some of these quiz. I'm a big fan of the chase. I want to do Celebrity Chase. I want to do Celebrity Tipping Point.
I'd like to see you on Celebrity Traitors.
That one, not so much, but if it were offered, I'd give it a whirl. I'd love to do Celebrity Mastermind with my specialist subject being Dusty Springfield, of whom I know a lot. So a bucket list work-wise is to try and maybe get a little more telly than I've been having in recent years. Trouble is, of course, a lot of the shows that people like myself and your dad used to do, the variety shows, they don't exist anymore.
No.
I went straight from Opportunity Knocks into things like The Golden Shot, and Val Doonican had a series, and there'd be things like Sunday Night at the London Palladium and Live from Her Majesty's, and all these shows that would be open for performers like myself. Now it's all reality shows and
the
dramas,
news.
So
soap operas,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, finally.
Listen, I wouldn't mind doing a soap opera. I'd love to do EastEnders. I could lapse back into my East End accent without any trouble at all.
Oh, okay, mate. Oh, blimey. Well, now, finally, Bobby, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
That I was a nice guy who did a good job, who made some quite nice records, who had a very varied life in show business. I looking back, I love the fact that I did have a crack at a lot of different things. Some became more successful than others, but I'd like my legacy to be that I did a good job and always took it seriously, and had a bash at all the opportunities that I was given.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us, Bobby. It was a great pleasure and good fun, and we both wish you well for the future. Now, for more information on Bobby's career, future dates, or news on the book release, make sure you pop to bobbycrush.com. And all that remains to be said is that we hope you join us next month on Matt's official podcast.
And of course, don't forget, if you have any questions or stories or anything you want to get in touch with us about at all, our email is pod@mattmonroe.com, and we'll see you next time.